Hey everyone, happy Wednesday, as we like to pretend. Today we teleport all the way back to ancient Greece and Rome, and you're probably wondering why would we possibly bother going all the way back 2,000 years? What can possibly be relevant? So there's a couple of reasons why we really want to start with ancient Greece and Rome. One, their framework for understanding disease, medicine, diet, health, really every medical topic lasted roughly 2,000 years. Like that's a long time. That's a powerful way of thinking about health. If no one can come up with anything better for a couple of millennia, it's got some utility to it, right? Even though we might look at it now and say that's weird or that's really simplistic. It was simplistic. It was simple. That was why it was so powerful because it could explain everything. Obviously, there's limitations to it. We've moved on to different frameworks since then. But as the bedrock, as the foundation of Western medical knowledge, and not just Western knowledge, you can see it permeating lots of different cultures over time. Obviously, we're focused on the Western case here, but as the absolute foundation, we need to spend a little time on it in a history of diet and health class. Just to give you a little bit of a introduction to the idea of disease and the importance of food. You'll see this in the readings for today, so I won't belabor it here, but just to kind of prime you for what's coming. Disease was understood as a disorder, like dis-ease was a disorder, right? So medical disorder and disease are obviously related. And it came from imbalance. That's really the key to health in the ancient world. You had to keep, and the medieval and the early modern worlds, as we'll see on Thursday, you had to keep everything in balance. Everything in the world was made up of four elements: earth, air, fire, water. There were four qualities: hot, cold, wet, dry. In the body, there were four humors: yellow bile, black bile, blood, phlegm. Roughly corresponds to actual bodily fluids, but it's also kind of this quasi theoretical idea. The exact nature of the fluids doesn't matter, but the key is balance. Everything has to be in balance. Everyone has a different kind of ratio, right? It's not that there's one balance for everybody. Every body, literally every physical body has a different kind of balance. Foods were the best way of controlling that balance, the best way of maintaining it, the best way of restoring it. If things get out of order, if they get disordered and you have a dis-ease, you need to rebalance your humors, the qualities, and so on. And you do this through food because it's something you're eating every day. It has the power to restore health, has the power to maintain health, right? So you have to eat the right foods for the kind of person you are. It depends on the season. Foods had a lot of properties to them, as Galen will describe to us, the author we read for today. And it wasn't like it affected everyone the same way. They were very attuned to the fact that how you prepared a food mattered, how it affected the body. Different people were affected by different foods. I mean, not just allergies, but just in terms of how it affected the balance of your humors and qualities and so on. It's easy to read it and think, oh, this is really kind of wishy-washy here, but it's actually really kind of amazing how much detail could get fit into this framework and how useful it could be. So we'll pay attention to that. So another reason to pay attention to ancient medicine is the way that they talked about expertise. There were no medical schools in Greece or Rome. If you wanted to be a physician, you said, "I'm a physician, and if you, I can heal you, I can help you." It's kind of like snake oil salesman kind of reputation, and you had to prove to people with your rhetoric, right, the rhetoric of science and medicine, that you knew more, that you were going to be more effective, that you had more experience, that you had more knowledge, whatever. The language you use, the way you talk about it really mattered because you had to get patients, right? There was no doctor offices and that such thing. It was very much a artisanal craft to be a physician. The author we're reading for today, Galen, what literally the most famous physician in Western medical history, is a master at crafting and performing his expertise. So I really want you to focus on that aspect of the reading: is how is he getting people to trust him? How is he getting people to think he's the expert? And Galen's super fun to read. Even in translation, he's really energetic. He's constantly talking about how other people or other physicians are a bunch of bozos. They don't really know anything. They can't do anything. They don't have enough knowledge. They don't have enough medical knowledge in theory. They don't have enough medical practice. They can't put different things together. And he can, right? He's got all of these different ideas. He's synthesizing all these different physicians that came before him. He knows everybody, not personally, but like he knows their ideas. He's got his own experience. He can put everything together. He's the best, right? He's super fun. I hope you enjoy reading him. There's kind of two parts to the assignment for today. It's really it's the same book, but I've divided it up into two kind of PDFs. One's an introductory chapter um, by the person who translated Galen, who obviously wrote not in modern English. Galen died around 215 CE. He, again, main medical authority well into the 18th century. Like it's just his influence on Western medicine cannot be overstated. You'll learn more about him in the introductory chapter. We read a sample of his called On the Power of Foods. There's a lot of detail about foods, about different breads, about legumes, about lentils, about groats. You know about groats, right? All kinds of stuff, more detailed than you can possibly care about. Skim it, right? We're not here to learn the particulars of the foods and their exact properties. That doesn't matter for us. We're reading for tone, we're reading for style. I want you to get a sense of the powers of foods. Why is Galen going into such detail? Why is it important to him to explain this? Part of it is performing expertise. He wants to show he has this knowledge, but he's also doing the service of kind of writing this stuff down so that other people can use it as a reference. What does this food do? How does it relate to other things? He's systematizing a vast amount of medical knowledge, folklore, other ancient physicians that came before him. He's bringing this all together to try to paint a holistic view of how food, health, and diet work together. I want to emphasize that you shouldn't read Galen as like wrong. Like we're not reading him as like a novelty. Like look how weird the medical framework was in ancient Greece and Rome. It wasn't that weird. It actually makes a lot of sense when you think about it. It's very different concepts than we use, but it's very powerful and very easy to understand, which made it very useful. So we're not reading them just for the novelty of it. Long medical influence, right? That's one thing. But we also want to read it as a window into a very coherent and sophisticated medical world, right? It's easy to think that stuff that came before us is ignorant and wrong and so on. And to some extent, I guess you could define it that way, but really it made a lot of sense to them. And there's a lot of nuance, there's a lot of detail there. So I want you to kind of appreciate that and get a sense for how that works in the reading. But think about how it embodies their medical world, right? The specificity that he's getting into, the conditional advice, eat this in this case you do this, and sort of just the sophistication is incredible, right? The food examples, the tone, his performance of expertise. These are all things that I hope you'll pay attention to and write about for your reflection for today. That's it. See you next time.